This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. Campfire Studios is an impact-led organisation amplifying the voices of Māori and Pasifika communities via podcasting and video content. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. A Beacon of Hope is a weekly podcast that shines a light on the human spirit and explores the power of hope in our lives. Join me, Will Fleming, as I talk to people from all walks of life about where they find hope and how they use it to navigate life's challenges.
Be good, be safe, and be happy.
This week on A Beacon of Hope, we are joined by Kiwi comedian Dai Henwood. This is a podcast about many things, including family, love, hope, and cancer. Dai opens up and shares his battle with stage 4 bowel cancer that he was diagnosed with almost 3 years ago and has been undergoing treatment since April 2020. Despite half a dozen surgeries and many rounds of chemotherapy, Dai's cancer has spread to his liver and lungs. But amidst the dark, there is light, and Dai is here to share a message of hope and love. Join us for this very meaningful conversation that celebrates resilience and the spirit of being human. I don't want to get too formal, Dai, but thank you, bro, for answering my beacon. You know, you have over the years. I've emailed you, and it's people say, how do you get in touch with people? How do they say yes? And I say, you email them, and they say yes.
And some people get back to you,
That's
some
right,
don't.
and more than not. And if you try and email it like you would say it, and just a little bit less than spam, it registers. And I think that's where we're learning how to decipher this digital connection into real life. And I've just really been thankful that, I think 3 or 4 times over the last 10 years, you've given your time. So thank you, mate.
Oh, well, I've always enjoyed our kōrero, and we also have shared similar interests,
Yep.
float tanks, meditation,
the meaning
bits
of it
and
all.
bobs.
I used AI to come up with 3 questions because I thought that would help me keep on track. So my first question for you is, what is something that you are most proud of in your life?
How I've developed as a father would be something I've been most proud of. I was always very proud of my father. I knew I wanted to have children. When I had children, it brought up so many emotions in me that I found hard. It brought up emotions around just anger, actually, because no one can make you as angry as people you love.
So
and
true.
I suppose kids, especially young kids, can just put you under the pressure cooker of emotion where you're trying to do your best, you're trying to give them lots of time, you're trying to do your own work because you're trying to bring some money in. And how I've navigated that and moved from probably a stressed father who had anger in terms of just shortness, being able to flow off the handle. I've never been sort of a verbally angry person or a physically angry person, but navigating that and then finding tools such as meditation, reading, and now I'm at a point where I feel I'm a really good present father, and that's something I'm definitely the most proud of.
It's so timely because I was going to film a little vlog about today, but I had a morning where, the 17-year-old was giving me a bit of lip, and I was like, man, I'm way bigger than you. But in the end, I dropped him to school. I said, love you, and I carried on. I said, look, probably not in the space to start the vlog because I would be like, hey, everyone, projecting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, just listen to your Neil deGrasse Tyson YouTube clip, drive to Dai, make it work.
But that's the thing. It's those mornings where things don't go to plan.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, kids who love going to school don't want to go to school. They don't want to do breakfast normally this morning for some reason. The socks are annoying them. And those things you've just got to deal, you've got to play the cards that are in front of you. There's no point going, like my big thing had been actually getting too stressed around meditation, because it would be like, right, all the people I follow have these cool morning routines. I've got to have my morning routine. And I was like, I'd do meditation, some qigong, I'd have my cold shower, those sort of things. Yeah. And then I'd get up and, my son's got up at 5:30 instead of, this was my time. But then I'm actually getting angry about not meditating, which is the polar opposite of meditation. Yeah. And there's a quote that sticks with me from a Buddhist monk who I can't quite remember their name, but he said he was addressing monks, and he said, if you think you're enlightened and if you think you've learnt meditation, go and spend a week with your family. And that was the thing I was going, that was actually my meditation for this morning. Yeah. Was my son's got up early, he's a bit out of whack. How do I bring peace to this moment and help him? And by helping him, he gets out of his funk and I feel better, because, you always feel better when you actually achieve something. When you get into this combative thing with your kids, they might go to school, then you feel guilty. Then everyone loses.
Everyone loses. Second question is, what is something that you believe in strongly and why?
Love is what I believe in strongly. The more I work my way through this world and deal with challenges I never thought I'd have to deal with, such as cancer, I've realized that love is my path. I got the angry cancer, I'm going to fight. I got into this warlike mode at the beginning, telling my wife, don't worry, I'm going to fight as hard as I can. Then I realized I was just in this tense cortisol release fighting mode. And then I was like, actually, it's me. It's me. It's not an external thing. This is me. Things have got a bit out of whack. Cancer doesn't have one cause. It's got this myriad of causes. So I've got to fight, sort of, to use the term loosely, fight it. I've got to throw a myriad of solutions at it. And I think the strongest thing is love and sending love to myself. And then that extrapolates through the whole of society. You just send love. If we actually just focused a bit more on love. And a philosophy of mine has been try and do something nice for someone without them knowing, and then they think the world is a better place. So then they do nice things, and it all sort of unravels. And positivity and love in that is endless. The more you give out, the more you get. So I just sort of believe that people need to focus on love and coming from a place of love, and then you understand and you're a bit more empathetic.
And I'd heard you kind of talking like this before. We mentioned there's an awesome full-length interview with you and Jackie on the project, and I'd recommend everyone kind of have a good watch of that because, it's beautiful, but also you talk about love and you talk about loving your cancer. Like, I guess I'm just trying to say that, like, it's hard to say those words in that order, but you're even trying to love that. And one of the things I've been thinking about and talking with Guy, who's producing today, is like, positivity, love's all good till the wheels fall off. Oh, can you still do that? Or you'd hope that people, what I'm taking from you is like the wheels are coming up, but we're doubling down on love, hope, all of those.
Yeah, the wheels still come off. Like we're recording this on a Monday morning, and I've had a challenging weekend sort of emotionally, and the wheels come off regularly for me. That's the thing with cancer, it sneaks up on you. And I've sort of have been working on this protocol, I suppose, of trying to keep myself as healthy as possible. I'm very intrigued with a lot of recent science that's coming out around a therapeutic ketogenic diet to slow tumour growth and so forth. There's sort of a lot of interesting preclinical stuff out there. So I've been working on that, but then the wheels fell off and I was just eating lots of sugar, and then I was realizing, wow, I was feeling so good eating this way, and now I feel like rubbish because I'm eating lots of sugar, but I just want some more sugar. And then trying not to beat myself up, because I'm like, actually, over the last 4 weeks, I've done so many good days compared to normal, beating myself up over these little ones. And then that leads into I'm just feeling a bit depressed and I'm down. And they're all perfect emotions. You can't get trapped in what I suppose I call a toxic positivity of you have to be positive, otherwise you're letting negativity rule and go, no, actually I feel a bit shitty. I'm feeling a bit down, but that emotion will go, just like happiness will go. Yeah. So yeah, holding on to the love aspect is always there, but it's got its challenges, and it doesn't mean that's going to happen 24/7.
I have heard you talk a little bit about, I guess, your partner in this journey, your wife, and having that person who is an awesome way to encapsulate the meaning of love. I have a wife, and I'm lucky that we've been married 17 years, and it freaks me out that we're still really happy, and I don't sit here and skite about it, but I'm like, I think statistically I'm in a small percentage. So what were the variables? Why is it that we still dig each other, I think it's partly to do with both of our parents had like those affairs. So we're kind of a bit screwed up with like, don't you leave me, but for our way it works. But I guess I don't wish to go too deep, but I suspect having another rock with you along the way to help you kind of, find the light in those dark days is an awesome thing.
Yeah, having someone to share this journey with, but also a big part of me was struggling with guilt around having serious cancer, and it impacts your partner as much as it impacts you. Like, sure, I get the physical things of going through chemo and I get the physical pain, but the mental pain and suffering is the same for the partner as it is for the patient. That's what I believe personally. And once I moved through that and realized, look, I'm not purposefully doing it. So it's just, and realized that unconditionally my wife was there for me, and we're just dealing with the hardest things. That actually does bring you closer. Yeah. I mean, it's been proven so much, and actually people who go through war-like situations or thoroughly traumatic experiences, like you're trapped up a mountain with someone or something, that like creates this sort of forged bond. Yeah. And the fact that we've stayed so close, we haven't lost the temper at each other. I mean, outside of the day-to-day, the little bits and bobs that happen here and there, we've had a lot of respect for each other, and we've negotiated through this time of cancer, COVID, lockdowns. We're at week 6 of the school term, and my kids have done 1 full week at school. Yeah. Just through weather-related events. We went through the COVID thing quite recently. So it's like, it feels like we're in such a little topsy-turvy type where the world's recalibrating in some ways. Absolutely. So the fact that we're together and love each other more than ever is amazing.
And I just kind of bring that up because, people search for tool sets and ways to navigate the world. And, I've talked to lots of people over the years, and it always comes back to, if you can find someone that will just ride the ride with you. And I think that's cool because you're open then, because it's your challenge. And it seems to be that if you can find that person, they'll be strong when you're not, or they'll compliment you, or, the opposites attract, or something like that.
And humans are social beings. And I think, sadly, especially in the Western world, Western, probably more Pakeha world, people are shrinking down. They're sort of whānau groups, whereas then like I was on a marae for a bit, and then you go, oh wow, that whole idea of it takes a village to raise a child. You just see kids hooning around, so many aunties and uncles and cousins that might not even be blood related, but that is a whānau. And a book I read that was been released quite a long time ago, Tribe by Sebastian Junger. It's a great delve into mental illness, actually, and how exacerbated mental illness is around the Western model of we all live in these tiny apartments next to each other, but no one knows anyone. And where we live in Avondale, we've got a cool little community. Of an evening, my son goes out scootering with neighbourhood kids for a couple of hours, and we know all the different points where we can call. I make a point of knowing my neighbours, so we can chat on the street and that. And I love that. I love that vibe. So, no, I think people need to broaden what they call their community to the actual people around them, because you might not get along with some of those people, but that's crucial. That's crucial
Absolutely.
to it, because we've got some problematic people, but I've taken the time to get to know them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the thing is, then I can actually address the issues that are problematic rather than sitting and festering in the house. And then you actually get that empathy because you go, now I've learned more about these people. I understand this,
It's interesting, Dai, because I sit here looking at you like what is it called, a deer in headlights? Because I didn't do that. We moved into an area, and for some reason everyone was away, and that awkward moment passed where I didn't go and say hello, so we haven't. And it's like 2 years later, and I don't really know my neighbours, and I should. But I'm like, man, what's the strategy there? Is it just getting that courage and going to knock and say hi?
Well, the thing is, it's humbling because it's just an ego. When you're worried about something, think about how ego fits into it. Like this is heavy, but for me, death, right? My life might be truncated. I don't know how things work out. But I start thinking about it, and then I'm getting into woe is me, all these people miss me, and I'm not leaving enough money, and then I'm going, this has come back to me. It's all about me and my ego, and going, just let that go, okay? It's people will be people. Things will move on, In 10,000 years, no one will know any of our names. So it's like, it does come back to ego. It's like the same with online, you tweet something, then someone replies and they might see a hole in something, or as people online like to do. And then you want to go, and then it's, I'm just defending my ego. I'm just, rather than going, actually, you're right. I misread that situation, which I've been getting a lot better at, because I'd love to know how to go against the natural human instinct of defensiveness. Whenever anyone, not massively, but just challenges something you did, or the way you did something, your initial thing is to get the heckles up. But I'm just trying to embrace criticism rather than... But we're humans. And when things happen, it just sparks chemical things in your body, and that suddenly brings up this emotion that is just chemicals. It's just a chemical response.
It's spooky you talk like that, because I think the same is true with like I sit here with you and I have a feeling that I've been having for the last few days when I knew I was going to be chatting to you, which is like, all I want you to do is capture as much of you talking to your kids so that they have this, maybe I'll give a bit more context. And it's weird because I listened to your full thing on the project, and you're like, don't bring your cancer stories to someone with cancer. But I'll try and frame this. Because so last year my mum passed with cancer. So one thing that I realized is be an awesome parent, because then you won't pass on your baggage. And I don't have baggage from her, so I can rest. And she's resting. So I think that's awesome. The second thing was I recorded her heaps, because that's my job. But I never got her to say I love you. And it bums me out, because at the end of this podcast, I play a little, conversation we have. Where I say, all right, Mum, that was a good chat. Let's wrap it up here. And she says, okay. And that's the last bit. I said, normally that's fine. Okay, see ya. Should have said, love you, Mum, because then I would have had love you too. So I don't know if I'm bringing too much of my kind of trauma, but I want you to say for your family that you love them, because then it's somewhere in this digital world that we've created.
Yeah.
And maybe you've already done that, but I've wanted to at least just say, can you say that?
Yeah.
Just so it's captured in all the hours of stand-up TV. I'm sure they can upload that to AI, or we can upload that of ourselves because we record, but having I love you. First
of all, I love you, Charlie, and I love you, Lucy, and I love you, Joanna. And I hope outside of that, they intrinsically know that. My father was old school Welshman who grew up through the war in Swansea that was bombed. He had a lot of emotional baggage, I imagine. He wasn't one to say, I love you, yet I knew that.
Yep.
And I found that beautiful in its own way.
Yep.
But I so know what you mean. I mean, we're luckily a family that we do tell each other we love each other, because awesome. I do think that's a really important thing, and I sort of always make sure my kids know that I love them no matter what.
Yeah.
If they shoplifted, that sucks, but I love them.
Yeah.
That's not going to change it. There's nothing they can do that changes the fact that I love them, because I know who they are.
That's right.
And I know who they'll be. So when they're adults, even though they're kids now, I know who they'll be, because I know their souls and their heart is good. So, I do think it's important to tell people you love them, because they need to know and they need to hear it.
Yeah. And I think, the older generations had to show it, because that was very practical, I'll show you by doing, or however we talk about, you remember people talked about Richie McCaw, just lead by doing. I don't need to tell you, just follow me. But we do live now in like a world with this stuff, and you can go back and watch, and that wasn't possible. It was really expensive, and I like the idea that, man, you could record it every day, 2 minutes, just a little yarn, and save it, But there's something about when you get prompted through whatever happens in life, the wheels come off, and then it's like, all right, we've got to really take control of that. So, I've been finding myself sitting here with people and being asked to capture people's stories. And it's like, all right, let's do that. I don't even know. That's just a new thing in society. We didn't really think about it, but I'm stoked. Should I go to the third question?
Absolutely.
What is one of the biggest challenges you've faced, and how has it changed you as a person?
I've faced quite a few challenges in my life, just because I've chosen to go down a route, I suppose, from the get-go that is a little path not really trodden, or one that I suppose doesn't have a track ahead. For instance, hey, I want to move into the police. I go to police college. I do this. I do this much time here. I move up. You've got a ladder to climb. For me, it was I finished school. I went to university. I did Eastern religion and theatre and film, two degrees that don't have a defined monetary aspect. The hardest challenge has been doing what I want and being successful in a conventional society. I'll explain that by meaning I got into comedy, which is something I wanted to do since I was 5. I've managed to make an income out of comedy where I can have a family and we can live live a comfortable life.
Yeah.
Where, sure, we could have a flash of this, we could have a flash of this, that, but we don't want. We have food, we have shelter. So the fact that I've achieved that through doing a job that I just love, I count my blessings, because I'm not going to work wanting to leave before I get there.
Yeah, just on that point of doing what you love, people say, do what you love, you never work another day, but I think actively moving towards something, I'll see if you agree with this. I don't know where I am spiritually or religious-wise, but I'd like to think maybe, however you place it, we're all maybe given something that someone else doesn't have, and it's your kind of job as a tribe to help that person find it. Maybe a spark, a gift. And I think that makes sense on an evolutionary thing as well. Put little Pokemon in people and it's your job to find it. And if you are lucky enough to find it, then it's your job to get good at it and to see if people will pay money for it. Then you have what you just outlined. You can go to work every day doing what you love and you get rewarded for that. And it's an awesome feedback loop, which I hope is also a way to keep your mental health strong. Because I've worked those jobs, I'm sure we all have, where you're like, man, this sucks. Or, man, how come that manager's being such a dick? And that sits on you, it leans on you. And but I guess what I'm trying to ask, Dai, is how did you know to follow that stuff? Did you know? Did you think that if I don't, that I'm just going to be an unhappy person taking the other option, the more traditional option?
Intuition, I think, is something, and gut feeling. I've always trusted that and followed that, and I'm trying to sort of, I think things like meditation, spending time, you don't have to be meditating, but just not consuming anything with your eyes or just sitting with yourself. You can get little sparks that come up, and I just sort of, I suppose, followed that. I didn't have a plan, and I just played what was in front of me, and I found that was the best way to go, and then took every little win and worked on that. And I think a lot about that quote you mentioned about if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. I sort of disagree with that in a way, because I love doing comedy, but it's work. I do a lot of work that I don't necessarily want to do. It's still an effort to push myself, because I think there's a difference between doing what you want and then thriving at what you want. And to thrive, you have to put in a lot of mahi. Like I was chatting to some people who did the going sort of not off-grid, but they wanted to get into making as much food as they could for themselves, living as a self-contained lifestyle. And they said they never realized how hard it was, and it's work. Even though they love it, they said, we don't have free time to sit down and scroll TikTok or do what we're working and harvesting. And I mean, I'd love to grow more of my own food. And I'm not a hell of a lot of a green thumb, but I'm trying. And I realized it's really hard to produce a quantity of food. It's easy to grow a few chilies or, tomato plant or whatever, but to actually grow a diverse amount of food for more than one person is a massive, massive challenge. Yeah. So even if you love it, it's work. But it's a bit easier to do it, I think, if it's something you love.
Yeah, maybe like going back to the parenting thing, that's a bit like that, isn't it? It's hard. There's work. There's heaps of work. and they change. But it's cool because you know that it's your patch.
You know, it's like with parenting. You go, okay, get the kids off the screens. That'll be a bit more of a, and I'm talking for, say, my age kids, like 10 and 7. Get them off the screen. Sure, it's going to mean more involvement from us because they'll want activities, But then once you push through that, it's so much more rewarding because you're having family time. You're getting out, kicking the soccer ball around, playing a bit of footy, doing some art, those sort of things. So you actually are filling yourself up and you're getting to know your children better. So I think nothing is easy in life, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Hard things are rewarding. Like even I find that doing cold showers in the morning, I find it really hard getting in, but I weirdly crave it as well. I don't know whether it's just starting hard, the day hard, I sort of, I've ticked that off. It was easy, it was quick.
Can that be kind of like meditation as well? The idea of like putting yourself in a slightly uncomfortable position on purpose? Because I don't have beef with the word meditation, but I sometimes don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, so meditation is every moment of your life, is the way I've discovered. It's not sitting down on a mat, although that is how you traditionally think of it. But you don't need to meditate like a monk in a monastery. I've spoken to a couple of Buddhist monks actually who say, yeah, I don't meditate every day, like in terms of formal meditation. It's about every step you take, just having a few mindful breaths, really listening to your kids. Because I think, unfortunately, the words meditation and mindfulness have just become cute Comic Sans tea-towel phrases in a way. They've really, every influencer is talking about mindfulness, yep. and they're forgetting that it's such an easy concept, but it's so hard to just focus on the moment we're sharing now. And I think, without demonizing phones or anything, I think the phone is a huge contributor to taking away from mindfulness, because you've got a portal to the past, you've got a portal to the future, you've got a portal to every human in your social circle who is overseas, not overseas. You've got people, then you're on social media where it's not direct interactions, but suddenly you're having the world's problems lumped on you. Someone's having a huge argument with someone about, say, transgender, and that's something that wasn't even on your radar today, but you're emotionally bought into this, and I'm on this side or I'm on that side, and you're delving into an argument. So you're away from just sitting with yourself, and you're pulled, you're letting yourself sort of be in the river, just being pulled here and there, rather than just sitting on a rock in the river and watching it all go past. And I've tried to, I'm trying so hard to work on this idea that I don't need to read anything. I don't need to read any self-help books. I don't need to read anything. I have all the information I need intrinsically inside of me as a human. I know what to do. It's like, I know how to eat healthy. Everyone knows how to eat healthy. You just choose not to do it because it's hard. You know, like you don't need to read another diet book. You know, if you just eat food that's as close to its original source as possible, fruit, veggies, and some healthy, like well-raised meat or whatever, you know that's, you intrinsically go, oh, that's probably the best way to eat it. So it's like I look back at all the sort of big minds of our time, like Einstein, or they weren't Googling what's the theory of relativity. It was just in them. It was just came out. So I think, unfortunately, technology takes us away from that and convinces us we need to find the answer over here or find the answer, rather than just sitting and waiting for the answer.
I like that. Yeah, just a picture emerged as we kind of, I guess, land the plane together. Something like, I've been trying to break down the word hope, and I met with a friend yesterday and he said, oh no, I see it really clearly. The opposite to that's fear. And I was like, is it? I was thinking through, I'm like, fear is really easy to see. You can conjure it. Hope's not really that easy because you hope for a lot of things. But when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, what is the opposite to fear? Maybe positivity, but then I was convinced that I had knowingly chosen a word to focus my podcast on, which was an antidote to fear. And I like that.
I like that.
And it also helped me when you're talking now to think like, well, maybe the example you gave with if an algorithm tries to get you to look at the past and the future, your intuition has to bring you back to you. That's the mindfulness part, to now. And that maybe is where hope is found. At least, whatever, maybe I'm just waffling, but that's all right. We're all waffling.
No, I love the idea of hope, and the whole idea of there's always hope until there isn't.
Exactly.
Which is, and I'm someone who I actually have a lot of faith in humanity, and I do think we will find a way, and whatever the way we find, for good or bad, that's the way. So I do have hope, and I actually have faith that the ship will right itself. We're just in this chaotic part of humanity where we've achieved so much. If you look on the timeline of humanity from the dinosaurs then to like the Egyptians, and you look at all the progress, then we're in the slither where we've had so much progress in almost like 60 years or 50 years. So much progress. There's a lot to deal with for a human mind. So I think we've now got to sort out that progress and figure it out, and hopefully we make it through it. But hopefully, I mean, you've got to hope. I do. I research things that can help positive cancer outcomes. I do those things. If they're non-toxic, I'll embrace them, and I hope that they work. But I'm doing something, and for me, I'm an active patient. I don't want to be a passive patient. I'd rather look for things and then show my doctors, is this cool? And they're like, well, might not have full scientific backing, but it's not toxic, so I don't see how it can hurt. So I have hope, and I think if you have hope and you're moving, you've got to keep moving towards your hope. You can't, it's not blind faith, it's hope, like I hope my family can eat healthier food, so I try and grow things, try and get kids involved in cooking and that you hope with a path.
Boom. That's where we'll end there. Dai, thanks, man, for sharing that hope with me today. And hopefully people, get their bit out, but also we've captured another one of our chats, and I appreciate your time as always. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
2, 3, 4. Thank you for tuning in to this frequency of hope in our podcast today. If you found value from this episode and want to hear more, I would love it if you could follow, subscribe, and rate our show. By doing so, you will increase the frequency of the beacon of hope. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform, please take a moment to hit the follow or subscribe button and leave a rating and review. I truly appreciate your support and feedback, and it helps us make our podcast even better. Thank you. Test. Okay, if you've made it this far into the podcast, this is the bonus features. I'll just describe what's happening. I'm watching my daughter eating a whole container of mussels. Is it yum?
Yeah.
and I got Mr. 15-year-old in the corner. He was warming up on his uke, and he doesn't want to play, but I want to jam and sing with him. Come on, let's have a go at this. Say hello.
Hey.
Okay, ready? Two, three. Wise men say only fools rush in, for I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so we go. Something are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you.
Be good, be safe, and be happy. Yeah. Sounds like that song, doesn't it? Be happy.
All right, Mama, we'll stop there, eh?
Yeah, okay. All right.